Well, let's see. This one's going to be on the 12th, Monday the 12th. We're already almost 3/4 of the way through the year. Looking hard at our harvest candy giveaway. Hopefully, Roosevelt Heights, kind of in the planning now. Man, year's just flying by. I hope you're doing well. I want to just talk to you a moment about how we can kind of identify our relationship to the life that we live. Actually, is going to come from a little insight given to us by a man named Viktor Frankl. You've probably heard of him. He was one of the Jews that were, he was interned there or imprisoned in Auschwitz and survived it. And after doing that as a psychologist, he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. Easy get. I would encourage you to read it. It's actually quite insightful in many ways. I had one professor tell me that was his required reading once a year. But he said this, that there's only two races of men. Now, I don't like the term race because truthfully, we're all humans. It's the human race. But he says there's only truly two races of men. I think perhaps it's even fitting to say it here. He's not talking about the color of our skin or what region of the world we come from. He's actually just talking about what makes us up internally. Two races of men in this world, but only these two. He says the races of the decent man and the race of the indecent man. Think about that for a moment. The race of the decent man and the race of the indecent man. Both are found everywhere. They penetrate into all groups of society. Now, as Christians, our goal is to reveal the person of Christ. That we have this life within us that we want others to come to know. That's the whole point of our existence. If not, then we should have just been taken out as soon as we receive Christ. But we're left here to be a testimony or witnesses. Jesus Christ himself, as he describes himself, Revelation chapter 1, he's the faithful witness. And we're left here to be witnesses. Paul was to be a witness of the Christ that he had come to know. And he said that I would give up all things to experience the fullness of everything that Christ is, a fellowship with his sufferings, and to come to know his resurrection from the dead. In Philippians chapter 3, that's just his heartbeat. And so for us, how do we separate ourselves in terms of our testimony from others? Well, I truly think that Viktor Frankl has it right here. In Auschwitz, he said that there were some that acted like animals because the pressure caused them to just simply fight for survival at whatever extent there could be. They could betray their own fellow human being. They could steal or do hurtful things just to survive. And others, he said, lived with great integrity because they had a higher purpose. And he said the only difference is the way that they approached their experience. One chose to live with a higher mental attitude, to find purpose even in the suffering. Now, I don't know what life's throwing your way. I know what I can tell you this, not one of us gets out of this thing called life without some measure of suffering. Now, I know we live in a world that wants to go to great lengths to alleviate suffering. But the only thing that's going to cause is more suffering, as we can see all around us. What happens to a person when they accept that there's a purpose in everything they go through and that they have the means not only to identify with what they're going through in terms of not run from it, not isolate away from it, not mentally detach themselves from it, but they actually can just simply maintain their identity in the midst of the pressures they go through. What happens? Well, for us as Christians, that identity is Christ, who suffered on our behalf and lives in us. And he comes to our aid, it says in Hebrews 2:18, in the midst of our suffering. He actually shows up, that we don't go through anything in 1 Corinthians 10:13 that he's not capable of dealing with. It doesn't mean he changes the external circumstance. He actually gives us his grace and perseverance to go through it. We actually endure. Wow. That's a big deal for you and me. Maybe in a world where everybody's running away from everything that is dissatisfying or troublesome, people are turning to all kinds of different avenues to alleviate their unhappiness. Here's the Christian, the same set of circumstances, and yet not seeking happiness or just simple satisfaction, but seeking Christ, peace, a sense of his presence, true blessing, like the blessed man. Now, Jesus didn't say that we weren't going to go through things. In fact, he promised that we would. He also promised that he'd overcome the world that caused these problems and the God of this world in John 16:33. So for you and me, hey, let's be that true higher type of individual that actually in the midst of it can have decency and virtue and integrity and not lower ourselves to just simple self-protection and survival. Let's see what happens. It might just win others to Christ. Till next time, friends, God bless you.